Hello, beautiful beings. Welcome back to Love, Sex, and Magic. And today's episode is slightly different because actually I am being interviewed by one of my friends here in Miami, Nikki Sharp. We actually just shot an interview here and decided, okay, I was interviewing Nikki and she was like, hey, I want to interview you. And I was like, why don't we do that? So that is the episode that you are about to listen to now. So in this interview, I am sharing all of the recent happenings and lessons from my journey of 2021 so far, which, as many of you know, has been really deep, really transformational, and a really pivotal year in my life. So let's get into the episode. I don't know what you're going to ask me, and I'm nervous.
So the roles have reversed, Melissa.
So here's the thing, you guys. Here's what we did. This is what happened. We were just shooting an interview here. I was interviewing Nikki. We came to the end of an amazing interview. The person who I was supposed to be interviewing after Nikki didn't come, or this afternoon had to cancel, couldn't make it, rescheduled. And so I was going to do another Q&A. And then I had the thought pop into my head of like, actually, I wonder if Nikki would want to interview me. But I was like, I'm not going to say anything because I don't want to put her on the spot or put her under pressure to say yes because we haven't arranged this. This is completely impulsive, impromptu.
Very. And then at the end of it, I was saying, gosh, I want to interview you because I'm doing my podcast. And it was like, ooh, permission to ask.
Yeah.
And you were like, wait, what about,
why don't we just do it?
So, and you said now, and I was like, yeah, okay, cool.
Yeah. So here we are. And Nikki's now going to interview me. Yeah. And we have had zero prep for this.
Zero. Yeah.
We just had a snack and went straight into it.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what you're going to ask me.
Fantastic.
So
that's great.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Let's do this.
So I'm Nikki Sharp, your new host for Love, Sex, and Magic with my guest, Melissa Wells.
Hello, dears.
So we're going to just jump straight in. And here we are in this beautiful apartment of yours, in this spectacular studio with all of this artwork, and your vision has come to life. And you've said, 6 months ago or a year ago, you had this vision, and it wouldn't have been able to have happened if some other major transitions hadn't have happened. And you've been public to an extent, right? As we share what we feel like to help our audience. So you've been public about everything that's happened and the healing process that you've gone through. And through that, you've also helped a lot of people. But the question that I have now today is, looking back, what would you have told the girl from the day that you went through the breakup?
Oh my gosh. Straight in there, Nikki. Straight in. All right, here we go. So first of all, I just want to touch on, you said you've been public with everything that happened. There's so much that I haven't shared because I don't want to be disrespectful to my ex, who I was incredibly in love with and will always love till the day I die. So there is a lot that I haven't shared and won't share out of respect. But I felt it was important for me to be honest about what happened and not just be like, we decided to part ways, because we had been sharing our relationship publicly for a long time. And we had been honest about struggles and things that we'd been going through in our relationship, and we'd recorded podcasts together. So it was like, I can't lie about the breakup and mask over it with some sugar-coated bullshit, because that's not the truth. So I was like, I have to share the truth of what happened. And I also knew it was going to be such a huge initiation for my healing journey that I was going to need to share parts of. So it was really important for me to be honest. And I think if I hadn't been honest, I would have felt such a dis-ease in the body of like, it's so much easier for me to be authentic and honest with my community than it is to pretend something else is going on than it actually is these days. So that's just, I just wanted to say that.
Yeah. Well, and that's why I said to an extent, because, and as we talked about, Instagram is just a snippet of life, and you choose what you share. And I know there was so much more, and maybe you share more later, maybe not. But either way, you did share a lot to heal yourself and help others. But as you look back to that girl that day where it was like your world came crashing down here. You were buying land in Costa Rica and mapping out your future. And all of a sudden you go from, riding high to one of the biggest crashes you've experienced in recent times.
Yeah.
And here we are.
Yeah. It's funny because even when I was in the pits of despair, and even when I was like, I feel like I'm dying right now, like I am in the underworld and I don't know when I'm coming back out. Like that was what happened. And just for context, for anyone that has no idea what happened in the breakup, it was, to summarize, it was very sudden. There was another woman. It was a huge, huge shock. And I went from thinking that I was going to get engaged this year to then suddenly being replaced and feeling very abandoned and disposed of and in the jungle, not knowing anyone, and just me and Rio and a car full of my stuff. So it was a huge, huge shock because I felt like we had a really healthy, great relationship. But in that moment, what I would tell that girl now is like, just you wait, like you've got no idea, like this is all for your greatest good. And this is so that you can expand and live the way that you're meant to live and be the woman that you're meant to be. Because I hadn't realized that there were ways in which I was holding myself back in that relationship. And also just by living in Costa Rica, there were ways that I was stopping myself from expanding and growing. And, but I'm so proud of myself because I have developed such a relationship with myself and relationship with God, the universe, that even in those pits and those moments of despair, I had hope because I was like, there is no way that God, the universe, would do this to me if I wasn't destined for something fucking awesome on the other side. So I was like, oh, wow. If everything that I thought that I wanted, if my dream, my perfect dream has just come crashing down around me, it must be because there's something even fucking better. And I am so excited to see what that is. And I couldn't see what it was. And it's still unfolding now. It's only like 7 months ago, 6 months ago. Well, by the time this podcast comes out, it'll be like 7 or 8 months. But it's just unfolding and it's just better and better and better. And like, just as this, for an example, right? I have always wanted a podcast studio of my own. I've always wanted a talk show of my own. And there's no way that would have happened in Costa Rica. And probably not in that relationship as well, because I had to decide I want to do this for me and I can do it on my own.
That's so beautiful and profound. And you touched on so many different points that I'd love to go on tangents, but I'd like to just kind of bring it to something that you're talking about I had hope. What would you say to people? And at the end of the day, we're all going through something right now, every single one of us. But what advice would you give to anyone listening of whatever it is they're going through? It's really hard to see hope when you don't believe there's hope. Or when something so bad has just happened, or, someone in your life has been diagnosed with cancer or died, or you're going through a death of sorts. What advice would you give to them having gone through what you did and coming out on such a beautiful other side of it?
I really, really believe that everything that we are going through is for our greatest good, it's our medicine. It's a part of our soul contract. And as spiritual as this sounds, this is what I believe, is that we agree to these things before we come into this life. We agree of like, okay, I have this contract with this person. This thing is going to happen. This challenge is something that is on my path. And I'm sure that there are many more challenges that are on my path that I'm going to have to go through. So when I accept, I think is the word, that like what is here right now is where I'm meant to be, even if it feels like the worst thing that could have happened. It is my medicine right now. It is my path right now. So I'm going to overcome these challenges. I'm going to step up to these spiritual assignments, as I like to call them, and I'm going to pass this assignment with flying colors. That's how I like to see it. So that would be my advice.
Beautiful, beautiful. You're touching on soul contracts, and this is something I geek out. I love it. I could talk about soul contracts and our choices and all of that. Where and when did you, I guess more so when did you start learning about souls, and how has it affected what you do and what you teach?
When did I start learning about souls? It's not as if it's like a learning from a book. It's a remembering and it's a coming home. And I think to answer that question is really to say, when did I start getting to know who I was beneath all of the labels, beneath the identities, beneath the body, beneath the appearance, beneath the work achievements. And, at first, the first chapter of my journey was all about learning to love my body. That was a big one for me, was I had this awful relationship with food and my body, and learning to love my body was a first step for me. When I had gotten to a good place with my body, I realized that the real work underneath that was learning to love myself. And so it kind of got me into this conversation of, well, who am I? Who is Mel? Who is Melissa? Is she this best-selling author? Or is she this little girl inside that just wants love and, is obsessed with the color turquoise and wants to live in a hot country for the rest of her life and, loves girlfriends and, loves swimming with turtles and is obsessed with astrology? Then I started getting to know, who is my soul? Who is my inner child? Who is the soul underneath all of the other human stuff? So, and I think as I started getting to know my own soul, then I started getting clear on what is a soul yes? What is a soul no? Who feels like a soul mate? Because I get to know, because I know who my soul is.
Wow. I mean, mic drop there. What is a soul yes? What is a soul no? That's so beautiful. Can you give us an example of when you've had to make a decision where you said, yeah, this is, and two different ones where you're like, this is a soul yes, even if it might have been scary, so that the audience can really understand how to tap into that intuition of their soul, and when something is a soul no? I'd love to hear more about that.
Yeah. For me now, it's an instant knowing in the body.
And where in the body do you feel it?
I feel it in my belly. It's in my womb space is what it feels like. Yeah, it feels like it's my gut or even my ovaries.
Interesting.
And so a soul yes would have been when I first moved into this apartment. I didn't even see the apartment in person, right? I put the offer in and signed the contract for this apartment when I was living in Costa Rica. And Sahara, who actually came and did the viewing for me. And she FaceTimed me and was showing me on FaceTime, this is the apartment. What do you think? And I said, it was an instant yes. It was an instant soul yes. This is my place. This is my apartment, even though I hadn't stepped foot into the building. Now, another layer of that is initially, when I moved into this place, my plan was to bring in roommates. So I had a couple of friends in LA who were gonna chip in to be able to have a bedroom here and then fly in and have a timeshare situation go on. And I was like, okay, this is gonna help me with the rent. It's a big place. I can't live here by myself. That would be crazy. I'm probably gonna be lonely. And so I was like, I'm gonna do a part-time roommate thing. That'll be so good. And I had a roommate here and we did 3 days of it. And instantly I was a soul no.
Wow.
And I was like, oh no, I can't do this. Actually, I want this whole place to myself. And if I'm going to be furnishing this whole place and putting my time and my energy and my money and my investment into creating my sanctuary, my healing sanctuary, then I want to be the only one living here. And so I made the decision to message my then roommates who had all agreed. And I said, I'm really sorry, guys, but I have to honor my intuition. And this is what it's telling me. I'm just going to take on the whole place by myself. I love you so much. This is not going to affect our friendship, but I just don't think I'm going to do the roommate thing. And that was really scary as well. So it was scary for me to say a soul yes. And it was also scary for me to say a soul no. But both times I had such clarity in my gut, in my womb. It was just you can do this. And I think often when we get that soul yes or that soul no, it feels scary and it feels expansive because it's asking us to grow into a new version of ourselves that we haven't met yet.
Right.
You know, I didn't know who that version of me was. And the truth is, Nikki, the last time I was single and living alone was quite a few years ago. And I was actually really lonely. I didn't enjoy it. So I was like, how do I know? How do I not know that I'm going to hate this? But I was just like, if I hate it, I can always bring roommates in later.
Right.
What do you know? Best decision of my life.
Right.
It has been so healing. I've not felt lonely once. I have never loved my own company more. And of course, having Rio here means that I never really feel alone. And I have friends around all the time. And now I have a podcast freaking studio, which would have been a bedroom. And I have a spare room that I can have friends in all the time. So it was scary to step into this level of abundance and this level of like, can I really have this place all to myself? Am I allowed to have that?
Do I deserve
Do
this?
I deserve that?
Yeah.
You know, because I went from living in Costa Rica in like different Airbnbs, very off-grid, very in the jungle, to like this really beautiful apartment. I'm like, oh yeah, okay, this was the next level that I could sense was coming, but couldn't conceptualize. This is it right here.
I want to touch on something you said, but there's one saying that I've heard, and it's never worry about the how. Always focus on where you're trying to go, never worry about the how. Because we never know how we're going to do the things that we dream of. We don't. But then when they happen, you're like, oh my God, of course that's how. It all makes sense now. So it sounds like, you know, giving yourself permission. And I think by you even saying that, you gave yourself permission to step into this new version. You're going to be inspiring a lot of people to step into the version that they've maybe been too scared to. And I also love that you talk about a soul no can also feel scary. And I'd love for you just to touch on that, explaining to the audience why a soul no is right, but why it can feel, it'll feel light in the end, but why it can feel heavy and constricting in that moment.
Well, I think when you're giving a soul no, often it means saying no to something or someone that maybe has an expectation of you. It could be walking away from something. It could be walking away from a person, a job, a city, a friendship. And it's going to upset someone, you know, because there was an expectation. And suddenly you've got this intuitive knowing that like, that's a no, which means you've got to say no, right? Which means you've got to learn to have a boundary and you've got to actually speak your truth, even though it might upset someone. And we're not very good at doing that for the most part. We've really got to be brave to do that. That takes courage and it takes a tremendous amount of self-love and self-trust. But some of these soul no's that you'll get aren't going to make any sense to you. You're going to be like, this doesn't make sense in the logical mind. Why am I saying no to this? This is terrifying, but for some reason it's a no.
The other thing, and I'd love you just to share this. People saw it. I saw it on stories, and I screenshotted it.
I knew you were going to say this. I was going to come to this next.
It's my favorite thing that you've said about.
Yes.
Just to preface this. So Melissa, as we're texting, and she's like, "I'm getting the apartment. Oh my God!" I'm like, "When are you moving?" And in Miami, it's crazy because you sign the lease, and then you have to get approved by the building. But you have no idea once you're approved when you can actually move in. And then you're trying to order furniture, which is backlogged because of COVID and all of these different fun things that happen. And this is just the way Miami works. And then they want check deposits instead of you sending wire money, all these like
it's
fun things.
The
whole thing.
Yep.
And Melissa is like, yeah, no, I bought my furniture. It's arriving downstairs. And we're like, did you sign the lease yet, babe? She's like, no, I didn't. We're like, okay, cool. But what you said, now that it all worked out and you trusted your soul and intuition and all of that, please share what you did on Instagram that was so inspiring.
Well, yeah, it's not that I did it on Instagram, but it's that I shared it after it happened, because the truth is, like, sometimes the way that the degree to which I trust the universe, the degree to which I trust God's plan unfolding for me, sometimes is like, people are like, are you kidding me right now? Like, it's kind of risky. Yeah. I like to take risks because I have that much trust, not just in the divine orchestration of my life, but just in myself. I trust in my ability to figure things out. So yes, before I had the offer fully accepted, I started ordering furniture because this place was completely empty. It was completely unfurnished. I was moving from Costa Rica where I had no furniture whatsoever. I was coming here with 2 suitcases and a dog, So I was like, shit, really need to order some things. And like you said, there was massive back orders with everything with COVID. So I started ordering things to get delivered to this address because things were saying it's going to take 4 weeks to arrive. And I was like, well, I don't want to be sat in an empty apartment for 4 weeks. So I'm just going to order it. Worst case scenario, it shows up and I have to hire a truck and move it to a different apartment. Best case scenario, I move in and all my stuff is there ready to be put together. So I was just like, I'm just going to do it. So I started ordering things. And then what do you know? I got the apartment, which I knew I was going to because I said very clearly to the universe, this is my apartment. I know that it is. I'm not available for a no.
Boom, right? Mic drop. I'm not available for a no.
And this is something that I also did in my breakup. I was writing letters to God. I was having conversations with God in my journal. And for anyone that doesn't like the word God, the universe, I was writing conversations
Divine
to the
spirit,
universe.
yeah.
I now really like to have reclaimed that word in my life. But I was writing letters to the universe and I was saying, I'm willing to be in this pain for as long as it takes me to learn the lessons. Thank you for giving me all the lessons that I need to. I get it. Please, don't drag out this suffering for months. I don't want to suffer for longer than I need to. So show me the next level. This is what I said. I'm not available for this suffering to drag on for months on end. I want to get the lessons and I want to get out and I want you to show me what the next level is like. So that's where this kind of came from, was like, this is what I'm available for. This is what I'm not available for. Do as you please.
So inspirational. I remember you just shared it as you're doing a Q&A and you posted that being like, I'm not available for anything but this. And I was like, oh man. And it reminds me of a story I was telling a friend of I was talking to Alex yesterday and we were talking about apartments and relationships and all of this, of the crustacean, the lobster, who grows out of its shell, which the shell then becomes really uncomfortable because the lobster, the crustacean is too big for the shell. So it has to leave the shell and go out and have, a naked body. It no longer has this covering this shell and go find a new one. And the one that it goes and finds is always too big. And so it has to grow into the new shell.
Oh my God. I did not know that. That is dope. Okay.
It's amazing.
Like Sebastian from The Little Mermaid.
Yes.
I knew there was a reason.
And so, going on that, you've gone through such an up level. You've created a new shell and it was scary and uncomfortable and going to be more money because now you don't have people and you've chosen this soul. Yes. Mm-hmm. Everything still sounds pretty perfect in your life once you chose the soul yes to be here, and it's anything but, right? Like we still go through trauma and
oh my God,
suffering, quote unquote suffering, because then something else happened to you. Do you want to talk about that?
Oh yeah. Well, moving into a new place in Miami and creating a new life doesn't mean that I wasn't done healing. Let's just say, how to heal your heartbreak, move to a new place no, that's not what happened. I'm still healing, it's still fairly recent. But yeah, I was one day out of nowhere, just in this agonizing pain in my womb. And oh gosh, I was about to come on my period. So I was just like, oh my God, I'm just having really bad cramps. This is just day one of my bleed. It's just going to be really heavy.
And I hate to interrupt, but did your intuition say something else in that moment?
Well, at the start, I was just like period pains.
Okay.
Because it felt similar to when I've had menstrual cramps. I knew it was coming from my womb, but because I was due on that day, I was like, this is normal, right? But then I took some CBD, it didn't go away. Then I took some painkillers and it didn't go away. And then I was like starting to get worried after like hours when I had to lie down. I was like, this is unheard of. Like, I never have bad periods. I never have, I'm never in that place where I have to literally lie down when I'm due on. And it was really scary. But yeah, essentially, long story short, I end up in an ambulance, going to the hospital. And first of all, they're checking for kidney stones. And I'm like, no, it's coming from my womb. I know it's coming from my womb. And they found this huge cyst that had basically wrapped itself around my left ovary. And they were like, we have to operate now. we're going into surgery now, and you are probably going to lose one of your ovaries from this. And that was what they said to me as I was going in. So I had to literally come to terms with that shock, grieve the loss of an ovary before I was wheeled into the operating room. But when I came out, I felt like I had a miracle. And it's funny because actually, as I was about to be wheeled in, I actually prayed and I was like, I need a miracle right now. And I hadn't put this on story like, hey, I'm going to hospital, because it had all been just so fast. But in that moment, I was like, I need a lot of prayers and I don't want to lose an ovary. So I just flicked open my Instagram story and I was like, guys, I'm about to go into the operating room. Please send me all of your prayers right now. And that was it. Close my phone, go into surgery. And I'm like, just give me all the prayers. Because I know the power of that. I know the power of intention, the power of sending someone love, the power of prayer is so powerful. Yeah. So I was like, let me get as many prayers as I can. Go into the room. Anyway, I come out, I wake up from my anesthesia, and they were able to save my ovaries. Massive. And they were able to just take the cyst out, which the surgeon had said he was probably not going to be able to do. He wasn't expecting to be able to do that. So that has been a huge initiation for me. This was only like 5-6 weeks ago, right? So like that has been like, whoa, just the biggest initiation into deeper healing, womb wisdom. It's led me to deeper healing with my mother, with my relationship with my inner feminine, but also my heartbreak, because I really felt like that cyst was a physical manifestation of the trauma from this year. And what I've been learning is our womb space holds on to so much trauma. When we go through a big shock, when we go through a big loss, when we go through a big betrayal, a lot of that is carried in this space. So it's been a really profound journey. And yeah, I had to cancel everything, obviously, and just lay in bed for a week or two to kind of get my health back. But it's also led me on a journey of really upgrading my health. I've completely changed my diet, my supplements, things that I'm taking now. Just the way that I'm living is an upgraded version of how I was before. Even though like I'm not trying to heal PCOS, endometrial, like I don't have any of those things that I've been diagnosed with. Everything seems to be, healthy from what the doctors have said. But I just saw it as a way to upgrade. I was like, again, I'm here for a reason. This is my spiritual assignment right now. This is what I'm being given. Time to step it up. All right, what lessons am I going to get from this? Okay, I'm going to upgrade my health massively. I'm going to start taking supplements. I never used to take any supplements. I've been so lazy with that. I just go, I just get everything from food. But you don't get everything from food, right? So I started taking all these supplements for my womb. I started seeing this womb healer, shaman, got like womb and yoni massage. I'm learning so much about womb health and the wisdom from this sacred part of our bodies that's just so ancient, and we all come from this space and we're so disconnected from it. So I'm like, okay, this is part of my spiritual assignment. I'm going to go on a womb healing journey now, and here I am. So these assignments just keep coming in. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And it's like, it's the attitude that you have when they come in. It's not like, oh my God, this year's been terrible. Another thing. What am I going to do? Victim, poor me, poor me. No, it's like, okay, another initiation, another assignment for this year. Okay, 2021, you're giving me a lot of stuff and I'm going to step it up. I'm going to keep rising to the challenge. So that's been the latest one. And, I'm grateful to be on the journey and sharing the lessons along the way.
Wow. I mean, what a year it's been for you. And thank you for sharing all of that and being open as well to sharing all of this with your audience, because I know through it, you do give people permission to be going through, their version of suffering. And also you give them permission to say, I don't need to suffer. Mm-hmm. This is part of the journey. And I love the way that you're putting it it's a soul lesson for you to rise up to something new. And I call it spiritual stairs, right? The staircase of our soul growth. And we go up and each time you hit another block and you look up and you're like, I can't do that. I can't get up that stair. And it's like, yeah, but you're going to eventually, whether you do it now or not. And so for you, you've really learned to just take them on, realizing that it's not something personal against you. It's not like God has a personal vendetta against you.
No. This is what I need to go through in order to become the woman that I'm meant to be.
Right. And we don't always know the version that we're meant to become until we're there and we're like, oh my God, this is exactly where I'm meant to be.
And that's why there's just so much beauty in surrender, because I couldn't have controlled any of this, right? But I'm so happy because, it's revealing to me the woman that I'm meant to be. And, I can potentially see where this could lead me. Like the more I go on this journey, the more I'm doing this healing work, I'm like, I can see that this is taking me deeper into who I am, and it's so moving for me and it touches me so deeply, this work, that I'm like, wow, like I was meant to land here. I was meant to be here on this path.
So you brought up something interesting. Who are you? Who is Melissa Wells?
I don't know how I can answer that, honestly, because I am you. You are me. I am everyone and everything. I am God, source, consciousness. There's no, I'm everything and I'm nothing, it's hard for me because as soon as I start to describe who I am, then it's an identity. So I have things that I identify with, parts of my personality that I identify with. For example, I'm a double Aquarius. I'm a mermaid. I come from Atlantis. I was an Egyptian queen in a past life. I'm a manifesting generator. I live in Miami. I love my girlfriends. I have a dog. Like, this is all the things that make me me. But ultimately, I'm just a part of the universe. I'm just a piece of the universe, like you are, like we all are.
What a profoundly beautiful answer, though, in that you're able to identify things that your personality likes or that, you've associated to be things that I think the key thing there is that they can change. Absolutely. Right? Everything is ever changing, ever growing, ever moving. And you're like, yeah, this is something that my personality identifies and likes right here, right now. And what a beautiful answer. I've actually never heard that before, someone saying that. It's a really, really special one.
Thanks, babe.
Yeah, beautiful. All right, so we're going to move on to switching it around a little bit. You've done all these amazing things. You've gone through so much. Mm-hmm. What's something light and fun that you want to share with your audience?
Okay, here's something light and fun that I want to share with you guys. Sex and the City is back.
Yes.
The new series, and it's going to be on HBO Max, and I'm so excited about it. That is something that I'm so excited. Because, here's why. I binge watched the entire everything of Sex and the City when I went through my divorce when I was 25. So for those of you that are listening and you're like, wait a minute, you also went through a divorce? Yes. I got married very young and divorced very young. And when I went through my divorce, which to me was like, oh my God, I failed, the ultimate failure for in that kind of small hometown mentality is like, you have to grow up, get a mortgage, get married, and if you get divorced, then it's seen as like a failure. At least that's how I took it. Anyway, Sex and the City basically got me through that whole time in my life and made me actually excited to be single and excited to be a young, independent, single woman in the world. It made me feel empowered by it. So Sex and the City means a lot to me, as I'm sure it does to so many women around the world that are listening to this. But that's something that I want to share. Sex and the City is back, and I'm going to be watching it.
I love it. And I love what you brought in. Your everything you talked about and your voice and resonance changed, right? It got excited. And I think that's so important too, to find joy and excitement. And so where do you find joy and excitement through? And I'm sure it's everywhere, but can you give us specific examples of what's your morning routine look like? Where do you find joy? Do you jump straight into work? Like for me, I actually like sometimes jumping straight into work when I'm really joyful about what I'm doing. I'm like, oh, I'm excited. I'm like buzzy. Yeah. And then there's other times where I want to spend 2 hours just journaling before I go to work. So what does that look like? What does a day in the life of Melissa look like? And where's joy?
I feel like I have so much joy in my life. And especially since getting Rio in my life, she has added so much joy to my life because she's just constantly wanting to play, constantly reminding me to play. And because I have to walk her twice a day, because I get to walk her twice a day, it means that I'm getting out onto the beach, getting my feet in the ocean, every day, twice a day. And that brings me so much joy. So as you were asking that, immediately I thought of my mornings, and then you said, what is your morning routine? I was like, we're channeling, like you're telepathically, like you're like mind reading me. So every morning I wake up at sunrise. This is going to sound like, oh, every morning I my silk pajamas and I go down to the beach. But my mornings are like such a favorite part of my day because my bedroom is right on the ocean. This is why I got this apartment, right? Because it's right on the ocean. And so it reminds me of who I am, and I've always felt very connected to the ocean. So because my bedroom is right on the ocean, I never put my blinds down, ever, which means I can always either see the ocean or when I go to sleep, it's just pitch black. So what that means is when I wake up, I'm being woken up by the sun rising. So I wake up at the sunrise, Rio's next to me spooning, and we play in bed.
Who's big spoon, little spoon?
Oh, well, I'm definitely the big spoon. Come on. That would be weird. So we have a little spoon, we have a little play, and then we go down to the beach and I walk her and she runs along the beach and the sun is rising. And it's in those moments that I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful. It's always when I'm sunrise or sunset, especially on the ocean, it just makes me oh my God, it gives me so much perspective of like, oh, I'm just this tiny little human on this like spinning planet, like just trying to live my best life and be a good human. And I'm just so grateful to be here. So I get immense joy from that. And especially having Rio just like being her crazy wild self.
So you do that, and then do you go get a coffee, a matcha latte? Do you make a juice? Do you come back? Like I'd love to just walk, I guess, from when you start work, because you're building an empire, and any woman and man will understand this, that it's really hard to balance personal life and friends and relationships and taking care of an animal, your business, especially when it's your baby and you're growing it, and employees, which you have as well. And then on top of that, a social life. And then you and I are very, woo-woo, spiritual, love it people. And we're like, no, our mornings are sacred, or our
Absolutely.
time. And so when do you jump into work?
Yeah.
And when does boss babe Melissa come in?
Well, let me see. So first thing in the morning, I'm down on the beach straight away. Like that is not up to me. That is up to Rio because she needs to go pee and poo. So we go straight down because I'm living in a high-rise apartment. So when she needs to go, we go.
Yep.
So that is the first thing. Then I used to walk to Starbucks and get a coffee, get a oat latte. Since my womb healing journey has been unfolding, I've been working with a naturopath and I've quit coffee, and now I'm not going to Starbucks.
Do you feel
much better? Yeah. I feel much more grounded.
Interesting.
Less overwhelmed, easier overwhelmed. I used to get like easily overwhelmed and easily kind of agitated by something, and since I quit the coffee, that's stopped.
So interesting.
So I'm a lot more grounded in my energy, and because I'm a double air sign, I'm like, I need to ground a lot.
And
I'm
you're
like,
Vata.
woo!
You and I are both Vata
as well.
Yeah.
Visionary. I need to ground. So the coffee has gone for the moment, for the time being. And what I'm doing instead is I'm doing a hot water, and in the hot water, I'm doing all of these different tinctures, which I can't even remember the name of them all now, but these different tonics and tinctures that I'm taking for health, for my womb health mostly, and take my supplements. And then I make like a superfood chai latte, which sounds like it's super fancy, but it's just like a packet of something that my friend Danette has, like her brand of superfood
amazing
powders. And so I just have like a spoon of that, oat milk, and that's my chai latte. I used to skip breakfast. I never used to get hungry in the morning. So I would just have coffee and a green juice and I wouldn't eat until 12. Now I've stopped doing that. So now I'm having an oatmeal. So I'm having porridge or oatmeal with oat milk and cacao and blueberries, and I'm having that it's usually around 9. So all this, I haven't started any work yet, but I will admit, I do look at social media in the morning. That is something that I've not been able to overcome. I'm not beating myself up for it because
It is what it is.
It is what it is right now. I'm not trying to change that right now.
And you're going through so many other changes as well.
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's like we have to pick and choose our changes that we want to be conscious about.
Exactly. And sometimes in that space that I have in the morning, I will feel really inspired to write a post, so I might like start writing something or create something. And I want to do that because that feels like this feels creative for me. It's not like, oh my God, I've got to do a post. It's like, oh, I actually feel inspired. Maybe I'll do this. Not every morning, but sometimes that happens. Then I'll sit with my latte. I'll do some journaling. I'll look at like, what is the day going to look like? I'll look at my calendar. There's actually something else that I just remembered. I was like, I'm sure I'm forgetting something. So when I don't have like a 9 a.m. start with like meetings, then I will try and get a workout in. So I will like go and do a Pilates in the morning usually. That's like my favorite way to work out at the moment is Pilates, and I'm doing it at a studio. So I always feel better when I've moved my body that day. Doesn't always get to happen. I'm not able to do it every day, but like if that can be a part of my morning, then I love for that to be a part of my morning. Yeah. This week, I've just been shooting podcasts. I haven't done a single workout, and it is what it is.
And do you know what I love by that too is you're not beating yourself up, and it's so many people are like, oh my God, I didn't do that. I need to, I should. And it's like, there's no shoulds.
Exactly.
There just is.
Exactly. That's pretty much it.
That's beautiful though.
Yeah.
And I have a follow-up question on that, and it's one that I get a lot as well, but it's so beautiful just to see that you prioritize you and you and I both teach this, but it's for people that aren't embodying it and living it yet, it's so much easier to say like, yeah, well, will you have time to, and that's where my question is going. But it's like, no, we make time.
Yeah.
We prioritize time because if I'm not full, I can't give. And, the airplane.
Exactly.
And so what I'd like to ask you, and I'm sure someone in your audience is thinking this, I don't have 2-3 hours. If I get up any earlier, I'm getting up at 4:30 in the morning because I'm already working 2 jobs, for example. What advice do you have for people about either their morning routine or switching it to evening on creating that sacred space for them if they don't have a lot of time?
Something that someone said to me a while ago, this is a really good tip, was create a morning routine, create your dream morning routine. And then if you are short on time, just do like each thing for like 2 minutes, So if your dream morning routine would be like 20 minutes of meditation, just meditate for 2 minutes. If your dream morning routine, you would journal for like half an hour, just do like 5 minutes of journaling. It's like cut everything down really short so that you're still in the habit and in the practice of doing those things. Because in my experience, as soon as you go, oh, fuck it, I don't have any time, I'm not going to do anything, I'm just going to roll out of bed, and then you just feel terrible, and it doesn't build any kind of practice. It doesn't build that relationship with yourself. But if you're going to yourself, I am important enough to make the time. And even if today I've only got 10 minutes, I'm going to just do what I can. This morning or yesterday morning, I woke up and I had hair and makeup artists arriving at my house at like 7 a.m. I was like, oh my God, I didn't have time to I haven't done any journaling this week, but what I've done is, okay, what do I have time for? Okay, I'm going to do my supplements. I'm going to do my water. I'm going to do my latte, and then I'm just going to eat my porridge, like while I'm getting started with the day. And like, that is perfect. That is fine. That is great. I'm not like, oh my God, I haven't done my 3 pages of journaling. Like, yeah, I'll do it next time. I'll do it next week. I'll do it when I've got time.
That's so beautiful. And thank you for sharing. And I know that someone, listening to this and be like, wow, that's incredible, because that's what we think. We think that it's all or nothing.
Exactly.
We either have time or we don't. And I fall into this too. There are times where I'm like, no, I just don't want to work out. I don't have 20 minutes. And what I've recently started doing with my fiance is we do 5 minutes of abs. That's it. That's what we're committing to. And we're like, okay, I can do that. And it makes it feel so much better where you're like just small chunks of consistency. And I love that you're pointing out, even if you don't have time to do all of it, choose one thing, choose 2 things.
At least so that you feel like I've done something to nourish myself today. Yeah. I've done something for my self-care. I've put my body before my business. I've put my health before my work, And another thing with that is boundaries, like I've been really, really strict, not rigid, but like maybe strict is the wrong word, firm with boundaries with work. For example, I tell my team, like, don't message me before 9 a.m., anything work related. Don't message me after 6 p.m., anything work related, because after that time, I'm relaxing, I'm switching off, I don't want to do any work. So, and I need that for myself. I need that to show up as a leader. I need that to be able to be in my feminine. I need that to be able to, all these things that we need in order to show up as our best self. So you'll never find me these days working in the evenings, falling asleep at my laptop, like burning myself out, because I know how important those boundaries are to my success as well as my health.
Mel, I could ask you questions literally all day. This is everything you say. I'm like, okay, we could go there and there. And one thing I really want to point out for everyone listening, something that Melissa does, and you're so good at it, and I don't know if you're aware of this, is you change the words mid-sentence so that you're like, no, actually, it's not strict. That's the wrong word. I'm firm with my boundaries. And the reason that I point that out is because it's so important as we talk about health and nourishment and, these vital lifestyles that we're creating and being businesswoman and all of these things is the words that you say.
Yes, our words are so powerful.
So powerful.
And we know that our words create our reality. For example, this is what I'm available for. This is what I'm not available for. So the words that we use are very important. So sometimes it takes me a little moment to find the right one, but it's better to have the right one than to just steamroll with the wrong one.
And, and as you're saying that, and you're unapologetic when you make a change. And I think it also gives people permission to change is perfect. Change happens all day, every day, in every moment.
It's a part of nature.
It's a part of nature. It's the only thing that's guaranteed is change, right?
Exactly.
And as you go through this, then you say, I'm firm in my boundaries. And I think that also gives, people listening so much permission to say, I can't do this today. I'm so sorry. Or to reschedule, or, if it doesn't feel like a soul yes. And so I want to wrap this up. I have 3 questions. What does love mean to you?
Again, it's who we are. It's just who we are. It's not something that I feel can be described. It's what's real. It's who we are. It's where we've come from. It's where we'll return to. It's our purpose. It's why we're here. It's what we're all designed to do. It's who we're designed to be.
I'm sure you know where I'm going with this. What does sex mean to you?
Sex to me is an intimate exchange of energy between 2 souls. Yeah, that's what I think, an intimate and sacred exchange between 2 souls who have a connection.
And what does magic mean to you?
It is being able to witness and experience the miracles of life that are available to us at every opportunity.
And putting them all together, as this is the name of your podcast, which I so graciously got to host today. Outside of it just being a name, what does love, sex, and magic mean to you in your life?
It means living a life that is full of meaning, full of miracles, full of passion, zest, curiosity, wonder, and allowing that to expand into the rest of your life and allowing you as a person and your life to blossom as a result of it.
So we're going to end here. And that was a delicious, juicy, intimate interview. And I would normally ask, where can everyone find you? But I'm pretty sure everyone already knows where they can find you.
Found me already.
So what I'd like to just end it, is there any last piece of wisdom or thought or something you'd like to share?
I think the word for this year for me has been trust and surrender. And so many people ask me, like, how do I do that? How do I trust? How do I surrender and trust God's plan, the universe's plan? And you are not going to learn somewhere how to trust. You're not going to learn from a book or a teacher how to surrender. You have to just trust. You have to just surrender. And you learn on the way when you're like, oh my God, I'm doing it. I'm in that trust. I'm in that surrender. And look, life is getting better. Life is happening. I'm not dead. Things are moving. So you learn to trust, you learn to be in surrender by practicing it and just doing it, just trusting. And Nikki, you have been such an amazing host. I just want to say, like, you're so good at this. And I'm excited for when you launch your podcast show, because it's going to be a huge hit. So thank you for asking me amazing questions, especially with zero prep.
And I was going to say, thank you for being my guest on your own podcast.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. I really hope that you loved this interview. If you did, please do share it. Let me know what you thought. Tag me. And of course, please do leave us a review, as it helps us to grow this beautiful community of love, sex, and magic. Okay, loves, I will see you next week.